Hello, Wake Forest Baptist Church. My name is Ryan Wilson, and I am thrilled and honored to be speaking to you today as your candidate for the position of Minister of Spiritual Formation and Administration. Over the last year or so, as we knew that my current residency position would be coming to a close, my wife Mia and I spent a lot of time thinking very seriously and wondering and dreaming about where it was that God would be leading our family next. As we did, we thought about the kind of place we'd want to end up to raise our family. And we thought about the kind of church that we'd want to be a part of, where we could belong and grow and minister. We thought about how when we got to that place of saying yes and moving forward, we wanted to make sure we were doing so out of a genuine sense of God's leading and God's calling. And I'm really excited and really confident in saying that this is that place where God has led me and led my family to be in this conversation with you. So thank you for this opportunity. And over these last few weeks and months, I've had the great privilege of getting to know your wonderful search committee, to spend countless hours in conversation with your pastor on the phone, to finally have a chance to come and to visit with your search committee and to visit in person your town and your church, to meet your amazing staff, and to get to know more authentically your church and your people. And I can say again that our family and I myself am really excited about this possibility. We also know that this is an unusual way to be doing this, that this is an unusual time. That normally we would be there with you, meeting you in person, shaking hands, giving hugs, doing all those things we just can't do right now. And so as much as I would love to be there saying hi to you in person, I'm grateful for the chance to speak to you for a few moments today and tell you more about me, about my family, and about my faith journey so far. And let me say that I genuinely look forward to the day, hopefully, that we can soon meet and do all of those things in person that we aren't able to do this weekend. Let me start by saying that I am a native son of Virginia, and like I think all of your staff have roots and connections to Virginia. But that's where I grew up and spent my childhood and all of my formative years. As the youngest of three kids and as the son of a Baptist pastor and an elementary school teacher, funnily enough, named Bill and Kathy, very much like a Baptist pastor and school teacher you all know, named Bill and Kathy. But I grew up a preacher's kid and a preacher's grandkid, which meant I was in and around church from a very early age and for all of my life. And it was at an early age that I experienced the church for the first time, as I was a young kid who needed to have heart surgery and was in the hospital and felt the love and care of my congregation as they came and ministered to me. And I remember thinking as a young kid, this is what the church is. This is what the church looks like, loving and caring for one another, with God's peace and God's comfort through each other. And so I continued my love for the church from that point forward into youth group in middle school and high school, and having a very formative experience as a youth in that group, learning from my youth minister, from my peers, from my teachers, what it meant and what it looked like to have a relationship with Christ, and more so to live that out in very real and meaningful ways in the world. It was through that youth group that I had my first experience on a mission trip, where I first experienced poverty firsthand, face to face, where I was out of my own context and comfort zone to really experience God and God's people and God's world in a new way. And now looking back, realize that was the very beginning of a call to ministry that has carried me to this point in life. But it was actually music that carried me through high school. I gravitated towards music as a young kid. And by the time I left high school, I was certain that I wanted to pursue music. And so I went to Furman University in South Carolina to get a music degree and to study vocal performance. And I did that for 4 years and had a great experience. But all of that time, that felt like there was something not quite clicked in. And it was during my second year of being in college that a friend of mine approached me about helping him lead a youth group at a small church down the road as co-youth directors. I should say we had basically no idea what we were doing. We were just young college kids who cared about the church and cared about God and cared about young people. And so for 2.5 years, we did the best we could to teach and minister to that youth group and to be a part of that church. But I think more so to be taught and to learn and be formed in that setting. So because of that, I left college, less interested in pursuing music, but more interested in pursuing this constant and consistent call towards ministry that God had put in my life. And so I not only left college, but I left the United States and I went to Cape Town, South Africa, where I worked for a year with Living Hope, a faith-based organization that ministers to and cares for those living with and affected by HIV and AIDS. This organization had a relationship to my grandparents' church in Nashville, Tennessee, and I went to be just a missionary of sorts for that year and to work with their after-school kids program, to teach music, to work in their church setting, and to just immerse myself in a very different context of ministry and to take advantage of lots of new opportunities to be a part of ministry in a different way. It was actually in South Africa that I had my genuine and true and almost audible call to full-time ministry. Sitting at a breakfast table, I experienced a sense that God was finally saying to me, this is what I've been preparing you for, into a life of ministry. And so I left South Africa after that year to go back home and start seminary. But on the way, I spent a summer with that church in Nashville, Brentwood Baptist Church, learning from the very missions ministry that helped send me to South Africa to learn more about what it meant to work in the church and to do missional ministry locally and abroad. But I started seminary that fall at McAfee School of Theology in Atlanta, Georgia. And during those 3 years, I also had the great opportunity to work at Parkway Baptist Church as their minister of missions and young adults. Parkway is the church who ordained me, and in many ways the church that shaped me and formed me as a young minister. But it was from Atlanta, from leaving seminary and leaving Parkway, that I went on to another new context and new experience, where I left to go to New York City to be the first full-time, year-long ministry resident at Metro Baptist Church in Midtown Manhattan through a CBF organization called Student.go. And so I lived on the 4th floor of Metro and lived in Manhattan. I worked in their food pantry program on Saturday mornings. I helped their congregational church on Sunday. I was a part of their ministry throughout the week and just immersed myself in learning about ministry in the urban context in New York City. And because of that experience, I gravitated towards the idea of hunger ministry and nonprofit ministry. And so left New York City to go to Action Ministries Rome, a faith-based organization in Northwest Georgia, where I became the executive director and helped lead 5 food pantry programs serving the hunger needs of Northwest Georgia. But I should say that God was also moving in my life at that time in a very different way. My wife now, she and I had met just a couple of years before that point. While she was in seminary and I was in seminary in Atlanta, we met each other on a 3-week trip to the Holy Land and continued dating all through our experience of Atlanta and New York, and now with me in Rome, Georgia. We decided to get married, which meant that I was going to relocate to Atlanta to get married to her that summer and start a new job as the Minister of Missions and Youth at Second Ponce de Leon Baptist Church. And for the next almost 5 years, we lived life there and ministered alongside the folks at Second Ponce. We bought a house and got a dog and had our first child, Bates, and really enjoyed that part of life. But after a few years, it felt like God was moving once again in me towards something different. And I felt like I needed to explore the curiosity around possibly being senior pastor of a church. And that led me and led our family to Dallas, Texas, to be a part of this pastoral residency at Wilshire Baptist Church that helps train young ministers to be senior pastors of churches in Baptist settings across the country. And so these 2 years have been incredibly formative and important for me and my family. Not only did we add another child, our daughter Elsie, but I've spent a lot of time in discernment, and Mia and I spent a lot of time in conversation thinking about where it is that God is leading us next. And it's been very clear that God is not necessarily leading me towards being senior pastor. That's not where I feel my calling, but instead, I feel very much led to this idea of being a part of a church staff, helping lead the spiritual formation of a church, to have the opportunity to walk alongside people as they have faith experiences and form themselves holistically throughout the life of the church. And honestly, a lot of that came from my own experience of church all along the way, but even last year of being a part of a silent retreat, where once again I felt God calling me towards something new and different. And it was about that time as I was beginning to think about what would it look like maybe to serve in some area of spiritual formation in the church. that your church's position opened up, and I began a conversation with your pastor and ultimately with you. And so once again, I really am thrilled and excited and honored to be considered for this position. And I'm really hopeful to join your staff and for my family to join your church's family very soon. And let me just say in closing that my experience in getting to know your church has really been quite rewarding and quite amazing. Not only do you have such a hospitable staff and congregation, those who I've come to meet, a loving body of people, but what struck me most was this sense of your church having such a rich history and legacy and caring about who you have been and being very conscious of who you are now, but also thinking very seriously and creatively and excitedly about the church of the future and who Wake Forest Baptist Church will be and not just who you are now. And so I really am excited about the possibility of being a part of that future. And so I want to say thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for your time. And I look forward to getting to know you, I hope, very soon. God bless. Hello again. I just wanted to introduce my family as I also introduced myself. And so this is our son, Bates. Bates, want to say hi?
Hi. Hi, Wake Forest Baptist Church.
And this is our daughter, Elsie, and my wife, Mia.
Hello, I am just so excited about the opportunity of our little family joining your church family, and just wanted to briefly tell you, when we visited Wake Forest, I just continued to feel like I was at home, both visiting your town and then sharing a meal with the Tedders, and then spending time with Deborah and Dr. Slater. I just am so affirmed and excited for what is to come. So thank you for this opportunity, and we so look forward to hopefully meeting all of you in person very soon.